Wiki Podcast, episode 36, June 11th, 2019. Welcome to Between the Brackets. I'm Yaron Koren, and my guest for this episode is Derick Alangi, who is a freelance software developer. Derick lives in Cameroon, which makes him the first guest on this program from Africa. Interestingly enough, he's also the first person on this podcast who's a volunteer developer on core Mediawiki. Everyone else who regularly modifies core Mediawiki code on this show has been a part-time or full-time employee of the Wikimedia Foundation. Although Derick has worked for the WMF before, and he will work for them again before too long, so he's not really one of those true volunteer developers. But at the moment, he is indeed a volunteer. I have a personal connection with Derick because he was one of my co-mentors for a Google Summer of Code project last year. Anyway, Derick, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So where are you located?
So I'm currently located in the central part of Africa, precisely in Cameroon, and inside Cameroon I'm in Buea, which is located at the close to the foot of Cameroon, a little bit in the middle, but it's a very little town in the southwest region of Cameroon called Buea.
Yeah, okay. So what do you do when you're not working on Mediawiki, I guess in terms of actual occupation and hobbies?
Okay, so recently I have adopted the habit of reading, and not just things related to technology, but also things around health and life in general. And apart from my volunteer time that I code on Mediawiki and extensions, I also support members of the developer community here in Cameroon to help foster technology, for them to appreciate what technology can do and how they can make a career in that, and also work for local startups back here in Cameroon and as a software engineer and system administrator. But most of my time I spend it helping people. By helping people, I mean impacting their lives in any small way that can make a change in Africa and in the world as a whole.
Wow. Cool. So I didn't know this until I did a little bit of research, but where you live, Buea, specifically, you've described it as a small town, but from what I understand, it's a pretty major hub for software development in Africa, and it has the nickname Silicon Mountain. How connected are you to the whole tech scene there?
Yeah, so there is an Anglophone university, an English-speaking university in Buea, and it pretty much hosts a lot of students around technology, around politics, political science, biochemistry, and all that. And the whole Silicon Mountain vision started back in 2013 when people, mostly university levels, started working with technology, like using technology to change lives, to impact the Buea community. And since then, when it has its name, a lot of people have been coming into the scene, doing a bunch of stuff and making global impact and having global recognition. Basically, that's how the whole Silicon Mountain started. And I would say I'm not very much like a big contribution to it, but any contribution is a contribution. So
Sure.
I'm just helping as much as I can to make sure the tech community here improves and we get more and more people into tech. And it didn't really start like we want to create a Silicon Mountain. The name and the culture just formed on its own when a group of people just decided to say, okay, let us do tech. Let us use technology as youths to make a change in Cameroon, to make a change in Africa.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense that it sort of started out around a university or universities. That seems to be how it generally happens. Um, so how did you get started with Mediawiki?
That's an interesting question. So, I think this dates back from who I am. Personally, I'm someone who likes helping people. By that, I mean any kind of help from personal to academical, educational, anyone. So when I started learning programming like secondary level, then when I got to the university, I did a career like I majored in computer software engineering. Then back then, I think that was 2013 or so. Two guys from our university, Isaac Kamga and Nyachek, did the Google Summer of Code, and they were the first two people from sub-Saharan Africa to actually participate in the Google Summer of Code program. And from their experiences, they came at the university. They talked about it. They encouraged people to actually participate. That was like where the global recognition of Silicon Mountain really started. Then a lot
Yeah.
of people got into technology, and we were already into technology, but we were not engaged in programs like the GSOC programs and all these big contests around. But we're already doing
Right.
programming. So I started looking for some organizations that I can contribute to in the Google Summer of Code program. Then I saw there were a lot. JCC was there, JIT was there as well. Then I checked Wikimedia, and their vision, like making and uh, promoting free content, free knowledge to the world, it somehow aligns with my personal hobbies, like my personal things that I like doing. So I gave it a shot. I applied. Before applying, I was talking with people on IRC and getting help and support, making patches. Then a couple of months after that, I applied for the project and got selected. After that, I didn't just want it to be like, just come, contribute, and go. Since the mission of the foundation and the movement as a whole actually aligns with my personal interest, I decided to create a ripple effect in my community and in Africa at large, where I would encourage more people to code and encourage more people to contribute to platforms where they can see more and more people around the world benefiting from free knowledge. And that was how my whole Mediawiki contribution just continued till today that I'm still in the system.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool that you started out via the Google Summer of Code. You're definitely not the first person on this podcast who started out doing MediaWiki development in that way. What was that project you worked on, the first one?
So it was to build an IFTTT support for Wikidata.
Yeah. Uh, does it still exist, that the functionality you created? Do you know?
Oh yeah, so the project originally was built by Stephen Laporte, and there is another guy, I've forgotten the name. So there were two guys that actually worked on the project. So they built this system to connect the IFTTT API and the Wikipedia API. So the project was already existing before I came in. What I actually worked on was to add more triggers. So these triggers were really peculiar to Wikidata, and also to build a front end for RSS access, where people don't need to log into the IFT website to create triggers and then get notified. They can just use an RSS front end, subscribe that link to their feed reader, and then they have updates as well. Then I also worked on building unit tests for the already existing application, and also the triggers that I built during the project. So it was like three things into one. The first was the RSS front end, the automated tests and also building new triggers for Wikidata. And yeah, it does exist. I personally use it. My Twitter account actually has like 2-3 triggers that get fired daily on a daily basis. So yeah, it does exist and it's being used.
That's really cool. Yeah, if this then that, the thing you talked about, IFT, that's a really cool tool or functionality that lets you do a lot of things, of course. So it's interesting that you happen to do a project for Wikidata, which is of course the big the big project of the last 5 years, I guess. Did you want to do something with Wikidata specifically, or it just turned out that way?
So there are a lot of projects that are around the Wikimedia movement, and they are very interesting as well. Wikidata seems to be a more technical project, and I'm also not much into content creation as per writing. So I feel more comfortable working on projects that are more technical than projects like Wikipedia, where people add content. What I can do, for example, on Wikipedia, like I can build a bot to combat vandalism, but there are already lots of bots. But the idea here is I like things that are more technical than non-technical. So that was what attracted me to Wikidata, and that was what attracted me to the project as a whole. And I had to work on it during the summer.
Yeah. Although you've also done Wikipedia editing, just unrelated to the technical stuff. Did that happen? Did you start on that before any of this Mediawiki stuff, or was that sort of a function of you getting into all this Wikimedia world?
So I started off with Mediawiki and extensions, patches. Then progressively, I caught more interest into things like building tools. So it's like a whole ecosystem where if something attracts me, if I'm curious about something, I go learn it and then try to see how I can make some contributions. So, for example, for the Wikipedia side, one of the things which attracted me to it was I realized, I don't know why people do that, but they vandalize Wikipedia a lot. They just make very destructive edits. Somebody will just come and blank a particular page, and this information needs to be there. So I look at it like, if I want to read something about computer science, let's say compilation theory, then I go to the article which I think it exists, then I see some gibberish text there. I'll be like, who did this? And I can easily lost motivation to read and go check somewhere else. So such discouragements on articles and things like that makes me sometimes to check in on Wikipedia and actually fight vandalism. So there is this very nice feature that reveals live edits as they happen on Wikipedia, live updates. So I usually check them, and when I see things that are not constructive, vandals and things like that, I revert them. Then also I can read an article and there are grammatical errors. I can fix those as well, things around English language. But I'm not really core into writing Wikipedia. But I'm more of like maintaining the consistency and integrity of the content on Wikipedia. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I think that instinct to fix things up is definitely a sign of an engineering mentality. So I respect that. I feel the same way. So you mentioned Google Summer of Code. My understanding is you've been involved in both Google Summer of Code and the related program Google Code for the last few years as a mentor. Is that true?
Yeah, exactly. That's correct.
And Google Code I've never actually done it, although it's like Google Summer of Code, but for high school students instead of college students. How has that been to be involved in both of those projects? I
think it's been very rewarding. By that I mean, I've learned a lot from ranging from how people reason, how different cultures operate, how people, different minds tackle problems. So for something like Google Summer of Code, I think it's a little bit different because you have, as a mentor, you have just one project, except you decide to mentor multiple projects. But in most cases, a mentor is tied to a project with just a single student working on it, where you have the time and to actually go through with the student on the program, review his or her code, merge it, and make sure everything is going as planned according to a proposal. But for
Right.
Google coding, it's more of like it's a competition where a lot of students are working on many tasks at the same time. So let's say 3 students are working on a task, and you're a mentor for those 3 tasks. So you have to, when they submit their work, you review. If it's good, you give them feedback, you approve it. For Google coding, it's more of little tasks, and it's not just one big project where someone works on till the end, but it's a lot of little tasks where these folks work on them, and you keep approving or disapproving just like that progressively until the program ends. But these programs have been very, very rewarding because there are things which I think I wouldn't know till date if I didn't mentor those programs. There are things which I learned from the students as well. We shared ideas, and it's also very, very inspirational at the end of the day, where they write their blog posts and they mention you that this man or this guy or this woman actually helped me do this, and I'm very
Right.
grateful for this. And they have their trip to Google, for example, in the case of GCI. For the Google Summer of Code, you have your very nice Google Summer of Code T-shirt as a mentor,
Yeah. I
and
have a
some
lot of
very
those.
cool things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but the best thing that usually happens to me in these programs is the amount of knowledge that I gather from these people, the participants, and also the amount of collaboration and knowledge I give back to them. So it's just us learning as the program goes ahead till the end. So it's a very, very nice place to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool, and it makes a lot of sense that you know, when you're teaching and mentoring is when you end up learning quite a bit. Um, yeah, I've had that experience too. So speaking of Google Summer of Code, we actually worked together just last summer. You were a co-mentor of mine on a project for the cargo extension, and actually the student who did that was on this podcast too. Um, uh, uh, so I hate to bring the conversation down a little, but there was actually a sort of civil war happening at the time, I guess, right in your area of Cameroon, which prevented you from helping out all that much, although you did help out. It doesn't get a lot of media attention here, as far as I know. But what's going on with that? Is it still affecting life over there?
So yeah, you're right. This crisis actually started in November 2016. That's approximately 3 years ago, and it has been getting worse. So it's not getting any better. Life is hard here. For example, there are times where there are lockdowns where nobody goes out. If you go out and you get shot, okay, you die, and that's the
Oh
end of
my
your
God.
life. And a lot of shootings, killings, and a lot of bad things happening. So in most cases, during the lockdowns and the ghost towns, we have to stay indoors. We need to, stay safe. And sometimes internet gets cut, and you cannot connect online. You can't do anything. You can't reply to emails. Work gets affected, and this has affected a lot of businesses, and people are getting sick because people don't exercise anymore. People don't walk about. People don't have their
Oh man.
freedom. It's just some sort of house arrest, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And thank God for the internet, because sometimes for someone like me who usually I don't need to go somewhere to work. In most cases, I can just sit down in my house with a Git repository. I can collaborate with the team and work gets done. But for people who do like go to the market, have offices around, it's really, really affecting them, and the economy is crumbling. That's the truth.
Wow. Throughout Cameroon or just in your region?
So it started off back in the southwest and northwest, but it's also getting towards the French parts of Cameroon as well. Though it's not very, very violent there. Sometimes there are few protests, peaceful protests, but it's not as violent as it is here in English Cameroon, because here in English Cameroon it's actually shootings and killings and tear gases all over. They even break houses sometimes, burning villages, and all those. So in English Cameroon it's very, very bad, but I would say that it hasn't the same intensity of the crisis here is not the same in the French Cameroon. So I think the French Cameroon is doing well. Some just one or two or three protests have happened there, but in English Cameroon it's every day. It's something that goes on every day. In some places it's every second. There are shootings and killings. Every hour you hear that this person is dead or this person is dead. You see some videos circulating or speeches and things like that.
Wow. Okay, that's heavy. Um, uh, I guess I don't even. I mean, it's kind of silly to even ask, but how has it affected the tech scene? I mean, is there still yeah, is there still a development scene, or is it pretty much on hold?
So one thing I know for sure is the crisis, due to the amount of time it has taken, it it has affected everybody, every
Yeah.
single person. And for example, like in the tech sector where we have startups in the community where people have to go to the office, developers have to go to the office and code and work on projects. This doesn't happen anymore in most cases. And the only good thing is for the internet. Sometimes these people can try as much as they can to work from home, but it's difficult when a company has already been built around a corporate kind of lifestyle where someone has to come to the office, you have to report to your
Right.
boss. So this has affected the tech sector very, very badly. A lot of people are out of Boya, are out of the tech milieu. They have gone out. Tech businesses have transferred to the other parts of Cameroon just to survive and pay their bills and make some money. For those who are here are those who have the opportunity, in most cases, to work from home and collaborate from just their laptops wherever they are. And some companies have shut down because of this. Some startups are dead. Some business ideas are dead because of this. But there are still a few trying to strive even with the crisis. And but I think it's very difficult for them at the moment due to how the crisis has escalated and the level at which the crisis is. But like 70% of the entire tech that was happening in Boya in Silicon Mountain is dead because of the crisis.
Oh man. Um, is there any chance that you'll leave?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. It's a difficult decision to make. If it was just me, I think I would have left because I care more about my safety. I care more about my life. But it's not the decision is not just about me. I have family which are depending on me for so many things. I have friends. I have colleagues. I have projects that I'm also helping here, which of course I can help from out of the country, though the intensity of me working on those projects could be affected a little bit due to my migration from here to somewhere else. But it's something I'm still considering, and hopefully I'll get to make a decision soonest so that I get rid of the problem once and for all.
Yeah, what do you mean get rid of the problem? Do you mean leave and go somewhere safer?
either living or staying. But in
Wait,
most
sorry,
cases,
say that again.
I'm saying either living. So the problem is whether I'm going to
Oh,
live or
either.
stay.
Okay, yeah, right. Wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And of course, I guess there's no way to know whether things will get worse or get better.
yeah.
Wow. Well, um, I, I guess we'll go back to talking about tech stuff. That's pretty profound. But I mean, I guess that's certainly an advantage of working remotely and being able to work from home.
Yeah.
So sort of tied in with that, you co-founded the Wikimedians of Cameroon user group. Not really tied in with that, but it's also about Cameroon. What are the goals of that group?
So basically, the goals are just about promoting and encouraging Wikimedia products, Wikimedia projects in Cameroon, and engaging Cameroonians to come in and put in their ideas, make their contributions to help Cameroonians. For example, things that are not documented in Cameroon, dishes, noble people. They can create content for them. We can so basically creating content and also engaging people in technical stuff. Things mostly that's what I do. And the French community are those really into the editing. So they engage people in the as editors and I engage people as technical contributors and people who are really into tech related things. So basically, in a summary, the goal or goals of this group is to engage Cameroonians as a whole, so they can use the platform of the Wikimedia movement, like Wikipedia, Wikimedia Commons, and all those projects to help themselves, help their communities, and also make people know that there is a country called Cameroon, and this is what it has. This is what, if you come here, this is what you can see, this is what you cannot see. So we don't just be a black or dark place where nobody knows about us. Nope. If someone wants to do something and they mention Cameroon and you be like, hey, I don't know what Cameroon is. I have no idea where that is even. So it's just to create the visibility, contribute content related to Cameroon to make people better know the country and how to appreciate it, or say crap about it if they want to.
Well, yeah. All information is good. Certainly I can understand the logic behind getting as many people in Cameroon to edit Wikipedia and do other things like upload photos to Wikimedia Commons, that kind of thing. But what do you tell people to try to convince them to use Mediawiki and contribute to Mediawiki specifically?
Okay, so for Mediawiki cases, one of the biggest approaches that I use is the skills creation approach, where I can go to maybe say university, for example. I see, because the truth is here in Africa, especially in Cameroon, tech is not very much appreciated and it's also not well taught. So people don't have much skills. And if you notice, I'm also struggling with my own skills. It's not as I know very much. I know very little, but I also appreciate that I know very little. And I see people who want to learn, who are willing to learn, but they don't have the resources, they don't have the right environment to get these skills from. So I would tell them, okay, I've been part of this community for quite a while. I think I understand what is happening there. And I also think that since you're willing to learn something, you want to brush up your skills, you want to be at a global standard, you want to get that job, you want to get those skills that will make you live a better life. For example, I'll say, okay, this is a community that a lot of engineers, and it's not just from a particular place in the world, it's just across everywhere Europe, the US and Canada and Africa, everywhere. So this is a place where you can talk with a lot of people, get as much experience as you can, get the skills, because you get to actually write code and it gets reviewed and gets criticized. And if it's not okay, it gets, dropped and gets stored. And just like I said, you get to learn the real engineering, and in a very, very cutting edge case, because these are things that change every day. So if there is a feature, you know that, oh, this feature is built and it's been deployed. So you actually run at the pace of technology. It's not like something gets deployed and you hear it on, let's say, 10 months after that because you are not following up. So you get to be in the system and you live with the system and you get the skills progressively to the point where you can call yourself an engineer, you can get a job if you want, you can mentor as many people as you can. So, but basically just about them getting skills and then using these skills to maybe build businesses, get jobs, mentor as many people as they can, grow the tech ecosystem. As you know, there are a lot of tech jobs out there. There are a lot of need for techies, but the techies are still the population is still very small. So if we can fill the cup, then that would be great.
Yeah. I haven't really heard people describe Mediawiki development as a good way to learn tech skills, but it makes perfect sense. How do you feel, other Mediawiki developers are in terms of, being supportive and helping with development issues and all that?
That's a very interesting question. So when I started off back in 2015, when I made my first patch, it was pretty easy because I was working on this problem and the code base was really huge. I think it was in the Echo extension.
Okay.
The code base was pretty huge and I didn't fully understand the problem. And I remember the person that actually worked with me on IRC, like progressively to the patch got submitted, then reviewed and merged, was Eben Hudson. And Kim Jill, when I introduced myself that I want to learn and progressively or hopefully do the Google Summer of Code program, Kim Jill actually replied to my IRC message and encouraged me on what the next steps to take. Then I started tackling my first bug. Then it got merged. It was pretty easy because I got the help that I needed and I got my first patch merged. Then when I started engaging, interacting with more people, I realized that all developers are not the same. There are some that have a lot of patience, that they can explain something to you, they can give you the right resources, but there are some that are also very, very impatient and they don't even have the time to even look at what you're doing. Right. So I would say my experience has been mixed because there are times where I would say I've had bad experiences, even from the developer community, and but I've not allowed that to kill my enthusiasm or to kill my motivation to do what I find satisfaction in doing. But progressively to the point where I got merge rights, committer rights on Mediawiki Star, I've been exposed a little bit to more, very intelligent group of developers where they actually talk with me and we actually collaboratively work on patches to where it gets landed and gets deployed. Summarily, I would say specifically in the Wikimedia movement, not all developers are the same. There are some that really have patience to take their time and explain a concept or share resources with you and review your patch detailedly and make sure you learn the concept so that you can apply it for upcoming problems. But there are some that are not patient, some that you can get in touch with and they don't even reply. They never reply at all. And you just feel so frustrated and you think maybe you've caused a problem somewhere and you feel there is just this guilt that feels fills your heart, and you can get demotivated to even contribute. But
Right.
at the end of the day, I know what I want. I know what brings me happiness and satisfaction. I know what brought me into Wikimedia, and I don't allow any behavior, whether bad or unwelcoming, affect what I'm doing. So in most cases, when I have such experiences, I just take a step back, try to clear my head, then get back into the game again and keep contributing. But there are some developers that are very patient, and there are some that are not patient at all. And there are some that probably are in the middle. Sometimes they are available, sometimes they are not.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that you're not naming any names, which is probably a good idea. Well, you mentioned Kim Jil, I don't think he's doing that kind of thing anymore. Bringing developers, but he was definitely focused on that a lot when he was in charge of that. Yeah, that's the interesting thing about us having core Mediawiki as your project. On the one hand, whenever you get a patch in or something, you're making life better for hundreds of millions or billions of people even. But the flip side of that is, because it's such an important piece of software, there can be a lot of impatience and just people not wanting to deal with outside developers, I guess. That's been my experience too. I've gotten, I think, 2 patches into core Mediawiki, just maybe one line each, and one of them has already been removed. But but in each case, it took a long time. It did require a lot of patience to wait for everyone to agree that it made sense to add it in. Yeah, so right, so it's good that you're focused on it and committed to it. Let's see. So it's tied in with that. What kind of things interest you as far as MediaWiki development? What do you like to focus on?
So when I started off, I was just doing so many things. I didn't have any focus. I was just extensions here and there, and any problems that I think I have an idea to solve, I just start trying to solve it, get as much support as I can, make a patch. But recently I realized that there are some sections of core that actually need people who are focused, people who are always there to review people's patches. Then, for example, in my case, where there are some patches where I've made in core, and because there is nobody to actually review that, or maybe there's just one person that is fit to review that kind of patch, it gets stalled, and in most cases, maybe it stays there forever and nobody ever looks at it. So when I started seeing things like that, as I was gradually growing in the movement, I realized that I think I should focus in some areas, so that I should, improve on coverage in sections of core, so people don't have their patches stay there for a very long time, then get demotivated and they stop contributing. And when I started thinking along these lines, it also comes with a lot of expertise. So it means you need to understand that section very well, so that if somebody makes an improvement, you know how to tackle it. And if you are merging that patch and accepting that feature into core, then it means you're responsible. And if things are breaking, you're held responsible, and you have to answer the questions of why did you merge this patch and right. All that. So when I started thinking about how I can focus my energy in certain sections, I started looking at sections like, first of all, sections that have people who are very patient, and people who want to welcome new members into their community, or say teams, for example. Mobile front end. So the mobile Wikipedias, the mobile wikis is one of the sections and areas which attracted me. And that was
Yeah.
because their community is very friendly, very open, and they are very patient as well to review your patch,
Oh, okay.
to give you feedback. And for core, there is the resource loader module. There is that section called resource loaders, the
Yeah.
performance team. So that's another area that I'm looking at. And there is extension registration, the registration module that I'm also looking at. And one of the areas which it's very, very much lagging in the technical stack actually is unit tests. It's not just in core, but it's also in hundreds of extensions. So people just write code, but they don't actually write test code to actually test this code. So that's another area that I find interesting. And sometimes I can pick up an extension and write a few unit tests to make sure that if there are major changes or improvements that are to be made in that repository, if a patch is made, CI can catch any failing tests, and the person will improve on his or her code and things like that. So basically, mobile front end, registration, extension registration, resource loaders, and unit tests in general.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Unit testing is something I've been wanting to add to my extensions for a long time. Yeah, it's extremely useful. Um, um, so you've also done work for the Wikimedia Foundation, and you I guess will again before too long. What kind of what did you do before for them, and what are you gonna do? Now or soon?
Okay, so the learning and evaluations team put up an internship offer back in 2018. I think early 2018. Role was called technical design intern. It was to work on some of their projects like the Connect affiliate reporting portals and projects like that. So a Wikimedia Resource Center as well. So I applied for this role, and I went through the interviews, and then I was offered the contract. I worked for about 5 months with the learning and evaluations team. My experience was a very good one because, I kind of feel like in the working environment, things are more active. Like they pay attention to you more than when you're a volunteer. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but there is this priority where if you are a staff, you have the full attention. If you ask a question, it gets answered instantly. There's no waste of time. So back then, my manager, most of the people I worked with were females, and they were very welcoming. They were nice. We were having meetings all the time, reviewing my work progressively till I finished the contract. And because of the good work that I did, I was asked because the project was very huge, but the funding and the resources were not really available to complete the project, to extend my contract more. So I was asked to say, hey, yeah, the contract is ended. We'll get back to you if there is more funding, more resources. Then my work was reviewed at the end of the day. Then I started getting some questions coming back at me, what do you think we can do about this and that? And coupled with the work I did with them, they were happy about it, and they say, oh yeah, we liked your work. We have resources now, and we would like you to come and finish this thing for us. So that is why that is why I will work again for them, but this time around not as an intern, but as a contractor. So I already have the contract. I just need to read it and sign, then send back to the team, and hopefully the effective date on the contract is on the 27th of May. So that's next week Monday. So next week Monday I'll put my hat back on again then. But my volunteer hat is always on. Once a volunteer, always a volunteer. So I'll still keep things running in that direction. Meanwhile, I'm making some money here, trying to help my family in this very bad economy and try to make sure life is better for them.
Yeah, That's great. And by the way, well, I guess now everyone knows this podcast gets recorded ahead of time. But you were already working for the Wikimedia Foundation as a contractor when this podcast comes out.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So congratulations.
Thanks.
So yeah, that's really cool. Is there any chance that you will end up working for the Wikimedia Foundation full time? Is that something you've thought about?
Yeah, I've thought about that, and I would wish to work for them full time, like pursue my career with them, and hopefully get a full time role and get to collaborate more with them. It's something I've actually thought about, and I've come to the conclusion that if I have the opportunity, I will take it, and I'll be very, very satisfied with it.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I hope that works out. Yeah. So it's actually interesting. Something you said before, which is that I guess something I've wondered about for a long time, which is that people who are working for the Wikimedia Foundation, even as interns or whatever else, are treated with much more. I don't know if respect is the word, but more attention anyway than volunteers. I guess maybe there aren't that many people who can really contrast between the two experiences, but you can. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. That's interesting that was your experience. Although okay, yeah, maybe it depends on the people you're working with and so forth. But all right, cool. Another way you're connected to the Wikimedia Foundation is that you're a member of the Wikimedia Affiliations Committee. I believe. Yeah. What's that about?
So when I worked with a couple of people to start Wikimedia Cameroon, I was interested in how the Wikimedia Affiliations program work, because this is another medium where you can attract people, you can give room for more people to come into Wikimedia and use their programs and make their contributions, and offer help to the global community as a whole. So I started reading a little bit about the committee, and one of the things really about me is when I find myself in a community, I try as much as I can to make sure that people not only just come in, but come in a very, very nice and satisfying manner. Like,
right.
If I'm joining the foundation, if I'm joining the movement, I shouldn't join because there is this thing that if I join, I will get. Because the moment I get that thing, I just leave. But I'm joining because I feel like I am needed here and there is something I can contribute. And because of that, except you feel in the future that, okay, you are useless, there is nothing you can contribute anymore, that you decide to leave. But in most cases, you would always feel needed. You will feel like there is this thing I should help do, there is this thing I should help do. I mean, there are a lot of tasks, there are a lot of ways in which one can contribute. So before they can even start thinking of joining and contributing, there should be an environment where they see conducive, they see welcoming enough, and they see the need for them to come in. And channels like, mentorship programs and mediums like that, affiliation programs. So this caught my attention, and
Right.
it's also a volunteer role. When the AFCOM actually put up a notice that, hey, we need more AFCOM members, we need more people on the team. to recognize affiliates, liaise with affiliates, and help them on how they can get affiliated to the foundation and make use of the resources, the talents, the cultures, and everything. I did honestly, I didn't know I'll be selected. Because first of all, it's a different environment. It's not tech per se. It's more
Right.
bureaucratic. It's more kind of corporate thing. So when I applied with my tech profile, I never knew I would, I mean, even make it at all. So I got a lot of endorsement. People like, yeah, hey, we need Derick here. Yeah. Then I
Yeah.
contacted a few people as well, which thankfully to you, you actually endorsed my application as well. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. So I got in touch with a few
course.
people as well. And they were like, yeah, I think you're good enough for this. You can definitely give it a shot. And when AFCOM went through the proposals and they voted, I joined the committee and I was introduced, everything, all the members and the resources, and then we started working on tasks, affiliations, conflict resolutions, mediations, and things like that. I think it's something a little bit off scope from what I really do as a techie, because it's
Right.
something that doesn't just need to say, oh, you write this line of code and if it compiles, yeah, if it doesn't compile, okay, but it has to do with things related to emotions, related to conflicts, human beings, which it's not really easy to deal with such things. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of discussions upon discussions, and making in an area like that, there is no perfect decision. There is just a fair decision,
Right.
because whatever decision that is made is, first of all, it's not made by one person. It's made by the entire committee. And the truth is, not everybody will like that decision. So some people will say, hey, this is not good, this is a bad decision, this outcome is not acceptable. But we try as much as we can to say, okay, if this is fair enough for everybody, then we adopt it. If it's not fair enough, then we look for some other approach.
Yeah. So are you glad you joined after all that?
So I think I'm contented with joining. I'm glad that I joined because I've learned a lot of things. I've actually seen how problems that are non-technical per se are solved, and how people reason problems that relate to behavioral patterns of human beings. So it's something psychology related where we got to solve human problems. So I think
Yeah.
it's helping me personally because I'm learning how to also interact with human beings more and know that this is how something can be done to get this kind of output. This is how a conversation should happen in order for this kind of result to be achieved. This is how we can handle a conflict safely. This is how we can resolve problems between two or more people. And yeah, it's good for me to learn that because I'm also applying it in the developer space as well, because it's shaping me to not yell at people, talk bad at people, because it comes with a lot of calamities. It comes with catastrophe. So I'm trying as much as I can to control myself. To, if I'm angry, I get off my keyboard and make sure that the community is very much healthy and no bad and negative energies revolving around the air.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a very important set of skills to learn. And conversely, I think it's great to have more tech people involved in, Wikimedia decision making to bring that perspective. Because after all, it's all based around software, really.
Yeah.
Cool. So about so sort of related to that, about 2 years ago, you co-organized a one-day Mediawiki workshop in Buea. How did that go?
This was a very great time. It was fun, and though it was a little bit delayed, not on. I'm not blaming anybody here. Just that we were pushing the agenda before, not as an officially recognized affiliate. So when we approached the foundation with request funding and resources, we were circled back to some folks in French Cameroon, parts of Cameroon that are already involved in Wikimedia things, and we were asked to consider working with them and collaborating with them before moving forward on hosting events and running hackathons and things like that. And when we started doing that, then there was internet shutdown, where internet was shut down in the entire Cameroon. There was no internet. Like the English part specifically, when you come to English Cameroon, so that's Northwest and Southwest, Boya, Bamenda, Kumba, Limbe, you don't have internet connection. When you cross the Mongo Bridge over to French Cameroon, then you have internet connection. Sometimes it's very slow, but the restriction happened just to us. So when you are here, you don't have access to internet connection at all. So there was a blackout for like 3 months. So it affected us. Like nothing was happening. The event just went stalled. And when internet came back, there was this project already that I started working on, the Africa Wikimedia Developers Project. And I was already engaged into that. Then I flew to Ghana, did the event. But when I came back to Cameroon, the Mediawiki event in Cameroon was already planned. The grant was already put up. Everything was done. But we were, due to the crisis, the internet shut down, and me getting busy with other little projects, it got stalled a little bit. But immediately I came back to Cameroon, I did an event, and I introduced people into Mediawiki, into the Wikiverse, and how they can make contributions. And I'm very much glad that I had some results from there, and there are some people now from Cameroon who are making very, very great contributions from events like that, which happened.
Yeah, that's great. Is there any chance there'll be another one?
Yeah, of course. The only thing which is affecting things in the English part of Cameroon now is just the crisis. But I was thinking recently, and I also spoke with, I think, Jaifa Ubzina, because she was asking me about things around events, that how are things happening in English Cameroon. Things are really uncertain. For example, you can plan an event, and the so-called, I don't know, people who run the crisis and things like that can just decide and say it's a lockdown. And after planning with participants and setting a date, and then there's a lockdown for that date, the event just, it's very demoralizing and very bad. So that's why, and I'm also somebody who doesn't just do things. I take my time to plan. And when I plan and invest the energy and nothing happens, I feel very bad. It's different from how the other people run events, where they just do them spontaneously. They just gather people, do an event, close it just like that. Because I take time to plan, most of the events I do they grow vertically, not horizontally. By that I mean, my problem is not about many people. My problem is about few people, but for them to go as deep as they can. So that's the vertical growth. So I take my time to plan very well, organize everything, and curate the resources. And at the end of the day, I do a lot of follow-ups. So I can have an event with like 50 people, or say 40 or 30 people. And I make sure before that event ends, I actually see people who are very, very curious and want to learn. And I know those are the kind of people that at the end of the day can stay, can keep contributing. So I focus my energy on those. I do a follow-up with them, and at the end of the day, I can have like 2 or 3, and then consistent and things like that. But it's different from the horizontal growth, where you just have many more people really not doing anything. I just come for events and go away, come for events and go away, which I don't feel that's a good use of my time. I mean, at the end of the day, it's awareness, yes, but I would feel like what I really wanted to achieve in an event like that, I didn't achieve it. So I'm focused on the vertical growth and not the horizontal one.
That absolutely makes sense. You want to get some real results. I feel the same way. Um, how often do these internet blackouts happen?
So the longest one that actually happened in 2017, from January till about March or so.
Yeah,
But since then, the bandwidth has been drastically reduced in English Cameroon. So downloads are slow. There is a very the response time is very high, and internet is so damn slow. But
yeah.
in the other parts of Cameroon, things are normal. Things are very fast. Internet is very fast, and
Well, okay.
but sometimes, but I think since after the blackout, the intense blackout that went for months, it seems there was an international body that got in touch with the government and told the government that this is a very bad thing to do, and if you do this again, we will cut internet the entire Cameroon, and we will not provide any internet to this country for good.
Yeah,
And it
okay.
seems that scared the government a little bit because a lot of businesses are built on the internet services and things like that, banks and corporate organizations. So that terrified the government a little bit. And since then, they have not done any major block of internet. Sometimes they block social medias, but they don't do that again. But I think the trick that they're using now is they have reduced the bandwidth drastically. So internet is very slow here, but we are managing with what we have.
Yeah. Wow. I believe you were at the Wikimedia hackathon in Prague not too long ago. How was that?
That's another area in my life where I've been battling with for a very long time now. So I've been having these opportunities to go for the hackathons, but I've never actually traveled to any of them for reasons that are beyond my control, for visa problems. So
Oh, okay. So you weren't at that hackathon.
yes, I wasn't at a hackathon.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
most cases, I would go to the embassy, present my application, present everything. I get rejected and get rejected, and just like that. And these are very amazing opportunities that I've really missed to meet a lot of people, to collaborate with people I've been working with online that I've never seen before. And it has never worked for me, even for Wikimanias and as well. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that gradually things will get better, and I will I will get a visa someday, or visas to travel to these conferences. And I also hope Wikimedia won't get tired of of my too much visa rejection, and they stop giving me opportunities as well. So I'm just hoping things get better. But I've had a lot of opportunities for these hackathons, but because of visa problems, I haven't actually attended any of them.
Yeah, okay. So you've never met any of the people you've worked with.
Ne- Never at all. That's
Yeah,
I sometimes I cry. Sometimes I'm like, why? I need to meet these people.
yeah.
I've been in the Wikimedia movement for like approximately 4 years now. I've been talking to you, for example, for over a year or so, but I've never seen you in person. And
Right. Yeah.
so these are the kind of things which I really desire to actually see it happen, but they don't, because of the visa things and crisis, and um, like the Wikimedia that happened in South Africa. I actually went to the
Right. Yeah.
embassy and I presented my documents, and because the embassy wanted me to present documents that they want, which it's not even on their website, they didn't even ask for it. My documents were not even collected. And when I came back to Boya and I contacted the foundation, they gave me more documents. The week I was supposed to travel to make the application, there was a lockdown, so I couldn't travel. And then that was how the whole thing just ended. The hackathon, the conference happened, and I was not there. So these are the kind of things that usually happen, and I find myself not attending these conferences at all.
Yeah. Gosh. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. Well, I knew about I actually knew about the visa problems with in the South Africa Wikimania, but I remember we talked about that. Wow. Well, if nothing else, I think hopefully it puts things in perspective for the people listening to this from the United States and Europe and Western countries and so forth. There can be a lot of drama sometimes in the Mediawiki mailing lists and people complaining about stuff, but just being able to have safety and being able to just little things like high internet speeds or whatever. The fact that you're still involved with Mediawiki and contributing a lot and so forth, despite all the problems you're having, hopefully puts other people's problems in perspective. So yeah, I think that's most of my questions. I want to ask something. You mentioned at the beginning that you've been reading a lot. Are there any books you've read that you'd recommend that have made an impact?
There are some books that I've read that I would recommend to a lot of people, if not all, to read. There is a book that Billionaire Success Habit by Dean Graziosi. There is another one called No Excuse by Brian Tracy. Also articles. I do read a lot of articles. I don't remember the names of these authors, but things around successful people, building the right culture, building the right habits that can help you blend with the community and make impact and be successful in life in general. But I can make a list. I can make a list of books like this. I think I have a list somewhere that if somebody asks, can you share with me the kind of books you read at schools and things like that? I can just quickly copy that and share with them. But No Excuse by Brian Tracy, Billionaire Success Habit by Dean Graziosi, I think Rich Dad Poor Dad by I think Napoleon Hills, and there is another one, Transaction Analysis. I don't know who wrote that. I haven't started that yet, but just from the preface and the table of content is really nice. So I would like to read that as well. But I'm just into reading things. Oh, and also technical documentations on Mediawiki, which is still very, very crazy. It needs to be improved and things like that. So but I it's something that was not in me, but I'm trying to develop the habit and make sure that I grow in this culture of reading, because the more you read, the more knowledgeable you become, the more open-minded you become, and things like that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I'll be a link to some of those books you mentioned on the page for this episode. For a second, I thought you were going to say the technical documentation is an example of good reading.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Well, great. Is there anything else you want to say? We covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. So the only thing I'll just like to add is it's about the fact that people should be consistent in whatever they do. And a lot of times there are a lot of environmental hitches, environmental blockers and things around you that can beat you to the point where you find yourself not doing what you wanted to do, what actually brings you real satisfaction.
Right.
But from what I've read online, articles and things like that, it has taught me that there is this thing called consistency. There is this thing called persistence, where if there is something that you want to do and you'll be contented and satisfied with, like you actually have self-happiness. You when you start doing it, don't stop. You will definitely have a lot of hitches, a lot of problems, blockers everywhere internally and externally, health problems, abuse, and all sort of things. But if this is what you believe in, then you should stay on it. I mean, nothing should trail you off. Nothing should remove you from that path. And this one of the things that is also helping me to have a very strong belief, to have a very strong foundation in what I do and keep doing it, is people that I interact with. Like I said before, there are some people who are very patient. In fact, there is a woman that is in Germany. She works for the foundation. She goes by the name Christabel Stegenberger. She's one of the people who actually taught me how to be calm in life, how to be really calm, and not to dive into situations with anger and frustrations and just mess things up and insult other people. And with people like that around me, they take the patience to talk with me as a son and tell me this is how you should see things, and it's a really great thing. And you should have such a support system around you in life. Those are the kind of people that actually keep you on the path. And we all need somebody to say, yeah, Derick, you should keep doing this. It's the right thing to do. And they offer you all the support that you can get. And I also believe in the 12 laws of karma, which is something that developed in the East from, cultures around Buddhism and monks and things like that. Meditation as well. I think the world is getting very busy, and there's a lot of noise and disturbance, and it affects the human brain in many ways because you do a lot of things and distractions around, so many things to catch up with. So I also advise that people from time to time to practice mindfulness, practice meditation, where they have some time for themselves every day to reflect, to go deep within themselves and discover themselves more, actually realize what drives them, the positive energies, and get rid of the negative energies and stuff like that. So, but the key is hard work and consistency. Yeah, the world is a very, very random place. Things just happen, good and bad, but you need to filter what you need to filter to keep going, and you need to be consistent and be human, be nice to everybody. I mean, you don't know how the world will turn out to be in the nearest decade, so be nice to everybody. Do good, help as much as you can, and read as much as you can, because when you read, you also see some of these things documented and how different cultures interact more. But in general, summarily, I'll just say hard work, consistency, do good, and hope for the best.
I agree 100% with all of that advice. And actually, there was a point in my life when I was doing meditation. I should start doing it again because it really cool. Great. This has been a great discussion. We covered a lot of stuff. That's it. Thank you, Derick, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Yaron. I'm very, very much grateful for this opportunity, and personally thankful for you, someone that I've been working with just across the screens. Hopefully I'll meet you someday in person and we'll get to share beer for all the help and support you've given to me in the Wikiverse and personally as a whole. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. And this has been another episode of Between the Brackets. I want to again thank my guest, Derick Alangi, occasionally of the Wikimedia Foundation. Thanks to all of you for listening, and I'll see you next time.